Hello there everyone, Phoe'Nix or Nix here, and welcome to another video. Something different today, my top 5 ultimate favourite video games of all time. Now these are mostly classic games that I played in my childhood and still continue to play to this day. One of them is a little bit more new. I don't know. I'm at a loss for words. But anyway, shall we begin? So at number 5, my 5th favourite game is Dino Crisis. Dino Crisis being the survival horror series that spawned from Capcom, and I feel it spawned off of Resident Evil. I guess you could think of it as like a Resident Evil spin-off in a way, although it is its own game in its own right, so don't entirely put it as a spin-off. And basically the premise is you go to this island to collect this doctor called Dr. Kirk, who's a mad scientist, and you end up finding out that the entire island is filled with dinosaurs, and they want to eat you for lunch, which is not very pleasant, to be honest. And it's such a great game. My first survival horror experience, and gory for a PlayStation 1 game, even though the graphics obviously weren't that great, the gore factor was still, when I was younger, quite scary for me. In fact, I stopped playing it for 2 years because of the first scene where a velociraptor jumps out at you. I ended up dropping the controller, screaming, and ran out the room and not touching it for a couple of years. But I came back to it and eventually completed it. Yes! And I really enjoyed it thoroughly. There's 3 different endings for this game, which I really like, and there's loads of different ways during the game that you can actually go about the storyline. You get choices, which is nice. Considering it's quite funny how this game, in some ways, seems more advanced than some games today, like newer games today, which is quite funny. But definitely a really good survival horror experience, and one Capcom should definitely bring back, and I hope they will eventually. The horror atmosphere in this game, the whole survival atmosphere is really in this game because you're limited on bullets and you've got those fixed cameras, which I really feel adds to the atmosphere, the immersion. I love the fixed camera. It's just beautiful because you can't see what's coming around the corner when you walk around the corner. You don't know what's there because there's a fixed camera. You can't just peer around the corner with the 3D camera. So I'd like that Capcom's come back to this sort of format. It'd be interesting to see what they could do with today's graphics and today's abilities within video games. But yes, at number 5 is Dino Crisis. Now number 4, another classic and my first Western RPG, which is the Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion. Probably one that a lot of people will know. It's made its way into the history books, and rightly so. It deserves it. One of Bethesda's greatest games, in my opinion. The first Elder Scrolls experience again for me, my first Elder Scrolls game. I have since touched on the older version, which is Morrowind, but to be honest, I didn't very much like it. I probably didn't give it a chance though, so I should give it a chance. But this is my first RPG, and many hours I sunk into it because it's just really addictive. There is so much content in this game, and it gives you so much freedom, which is what I was drawn to. And the ultimate, the customizable, the way you can customize your character and the way you can go about playing the game is just great because it's your own adventure. It makes it your own adventure. You choose where you go, you choose what you do. It's your own adventure, and it makes it your own story. And that's what I love about the Elder Scrolls game, is really you can make a character and you can really go and set about that character's own story. You can choose where they go, you make their adventure for them and you join them. It's a very immersive game. And I like the fact you can do third person and first person. I like to use first person because I feel like it's almost me playing the character, if you get my drift there. It makes it much more immersive. But yes, Elder Scrolls Oblivion at number 4 very much deserves it. And just a little word to Bethesda here, please return back to this format. Skyrim was disappointing, really disappointing. You streamlined it so much that it became an action game instead of an RPG. So yes, that's Oblivion. Number 3, that was 4, but this is 3, is another PlayStation 1 classic, The Misadventures of Trombone, which spawned off of, I guess you could say this is a slight spin-off of the Mega Man Legends games. Trombone appears in the Mega Man Legends games. If you know her, she's like the side villain. She's not ultimately evil because she's being a pirate to get by in life, basically. And this is a prequel to the Mega Man Legends games. This is Trombone's story before she ever met Mega Man, and it's such a great game. It's basically Trombone is trying to save her brother from the evil man, Mr. Love, who gave her brother a loan, and he didn't pay it off. So basically, he took her brother's, like, well, if you can't pay off your loan, I'm taking you. You're going to work for me. And Tron is trying to get her back with a trusty team of Serbots. Aren't they cute? And I'm sure you've seen the Serbots before. They're called Kobans or Cuban. Was it Kobuns? Yeah, Kobuns in Japanese. And they make an appearance in almost every Capcom game in some form or another. A really fun game. I wouldn't really know what to class this as, because it's got many different elements. You've got sort of action-orientated sections, puzzle sections, very RPG-like sections. It's an all-rounder, which I really love about this game. It has so many different elements to it, which makes it so much fun to play. And the customization on this is really good as well, because you basically, in the game, you control a mech, like a mechanical robot suit of armour that Tron and her Servbot sits in, and she sort of uses that to command and go out into the field. And you go out to different places and you find different items, and certain items you can actually use to make new weapons for the robot that you pilot, which is really awesome. It's a great game. There's so much like hidden. As a child, I didn't really know much about the weaponry or anything. To me, there's a lot of hidden content in this game, which is really something that a lot of video games should return to form. There needs to be a return to form of this, not holding your hand and telling you where things are and such, like most video games do nowadays. In this game, you have to go find them. You have to go find these things for yourself. You have to find it out for yourself. And I won't lie, I have used Google to find out how to find certain weapons, but really video games need to return to this sort of format where it doesn't hold your hand. You just have to find things out for yourself. Most video games nowadays just hold your hand, and it makes the game so tedious and boring that it eventually ends up on the pile of games that will never be played again. But that was number 3, Misadventures of Trombone. Now number 2, another classic, PlayStation 2, Sly Too, Band of Thieves. My first game in the Sly series. This is the first one I played. I skipped the first game, and I do apologise for the glare, but I'll let you see there. So the story is basically about Sly in the middle here, with his 2 friends, Murray the Hippo and Bentley the Turtle. And they're this gang of thieves, this infamous gang of thieves. And this story is basically about them getting back the Clockwork parts. And Clockwork is basically Sly's rival in the first game. His biggest enemy who killed his family. And it's such a fun game, and I love the cartoon style that they used for this video game, because you don't take it too seriously. It's a game that doesn't take itself too seriously, which I really enjoy. It makes it one of those games you could just sort of sit down, play, and relax. You don't have to sort of be sort of sitting up like this, really concentrating. It's just one of those games you can have a lot of fun with, and just have some laughs with the storyline and just enjoy it. It is an immersive game in its own right and its own style. And so yes, Sly 2, Band of Thieves at number 2. Now number 1, my ultimate favourite game that shall never be knocked down from this position is Final Fantasy XII. Oh yes, Final Fantasy XII. This is my first JRPG and my first Final Fantasy game. I remember hearing my friends talk about it back in school, and I was very intrigued. Despite having watched Final Fantasy X, my friend played that and I didn't enjoy it, but I was intrigued anyway, and I ended up buying it, and boy am I happy that I did. Very happy indeed. Boy jillikers! It's such a fun game, and I guess in a way I'd consider it not only my first JRPG, but my first experience of an offline MMORPG. And the reason for that is this game really is like an offline MMORPG, and I think that format really hands itself well to the Final Fantasy series, and it's something I'm really disappointed they didn't continue with in Final Fantasy XIII. Excuse me. Because I believe that if they'd have gone with the similar format to this in Final Fantasy XIII, that game would have done so much better, and it would have appealed to the newer generation of gamers much more. Basically, there's so many different areas in this game, it's unbelievable. I can't even count them all. There's so many different pieces of armour, weaponry, enemies, and it lets you choose when to continue the story on. There are certain segments where you have to do the story, but most of the time you can decide if you want to do the story or not. I think the only gripe I have with this game is literally the levelling up can be a little bit irritating and long-winded because you can't share XP with the party members that aren't out, because there's 6 party members, you can only use 3. However, what I'm sure a lot of the older fans enjoyed is the fact you could control all 3 people, whereas in Final Fantasy XIII you can only control 1. But the battle system was really fun in this game. You didn't have to enter a battle mode like in Final Fantasy XIII. You literally just attacked the enemies there and then. You didn't have to like go into some sort of battle arena, didn't have to load that up. And the way you battle was very interesting. You could either input the commands on your own, like you could just input each single one, or you could actually use gambits, which allowed you to have your characters attack certain enemies at certain, if they were burnt, then they'd attack them with like a spear, or if they were almost dead, they'd use a spell and such. Gambit, it just an incredible game. I can't say much more about it without sort of going into a whole one hour sort of talk, 1 hour long talk, and drill your ears and kill you. That was a little morbid, but anyway, yes. So number 1 is Final Fantasy XIII, Final Fantasy XII, not Final Fantasy XIII. The games that just didn't make the cut were indeed Final Fantasy XIII, Age of Empires 3, Fallout 3, and Final Fantasy XIII 2. I won't talk about those games, but those are the games that didn't make the cut in the final 5, just because those games, the ones that I chose, were childhood favourites and ones that still remain favourites today. Will that list change? Probably not, but you never know. I'm getting into emulators now, so I might find some old games I really enjoy, or some new ones will come out. But I plan to do a few more of these videos, like top favourite survival horror games, etc, etc. But do tell me if you like this, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope I was at least somewhat concise. Thank you for watching, take care, have a great day, or week, or weekend, whatever it is for you, and thank you for watching once more. So until then, goodbye, till next time, yes.